Imagination can take different forms. It can be just daydreaming. Our thoughts are just wandering. We're just associatively, we call it associative thinking. It's not thinking. It's associative mind wandering on a subject. And it's vague and it's there. And we fail to see what's right in front of us. It's so bizarre to realize you stop seeing what's right in front of you. Your eyes almost close. They're open, but awareness closes. Awareness shuts down behind these eyes, which still, of course, see that you need to pick up the fork or open the door or whatever. But you're back in here, in this vapor, in this fog, thinking, quote unquote, thinking about something. And we usually have a favorite topic, almost daily or of the week, something that's happening to us. And in the back of our mind, it's churning. And here's something I want to punctuate. Something in us wants to indulge in it. And when we do, this excitement we were talking about earlier, about awareness, disappears. It gets consumed by our indulgence in the imagination. You can probably guess what is behind that based on what we've already talked about. The instinctive center. It wants to indulge. Why? It's keeping all that energy. It's not the only part of us that wants this. It's almost like a passive inertia, this indulgence. And because it's easy, it's comfortable. It doesn't require much effort. It doesn't require much attention, I should say. It certainly doesn't require much awareness. And so we collapse into it. Perhaps you have a certain kind of worry, a certain subject around worry or anxiety or a desire, or you feel an obligation to someone or something. There's something, and imagination, it becomes the pivot or the hub of the wheel around which the imagination turns. Emotionally centered people, their imagination revolves a lot around people, relationships, their feelings, not being understood, wanting to be liked, how they're perceived, etc. And then someone who's moving centered, their imagination isn't about all that most of the time. It's about projects, what needs to be done, what's on my to-do list, how much have I completed, am I feeling like I'm being productive? And I don't exist if I'm not moving and I'm not accomplishing things with the moving center. And intellectually centered people, it's just ideas, concepts, theories, opinions, politics, the news, gathering information and sorting information and being preoccupied with information. So we have to find for ourselves what this is. There's the feeling of I behind it. I am planning. I am worrying. I am thinking. I am doing. It's not the churning of these thoughts. It's that we hook into them. And so when we start to notice them, here's what can happen is usually where awareness is completely attached to these thoughts as they're turning in us. And then when we know about this and we start to try to observe, we start observing them. And we can see them and we are aware of them. But the consciousness, the awareness that's seeing them, perceiving them, and knowing that it's perceiving them isn't fully conscious of itself. There's not as much mass, or there's not as much sense of being associated with the awareness of them as there is with them themselves. We think they're so real. We feel this thought is so legitimate. And what's strange is it's just a thought. We don't know what a thought is. Science doesn't know what a thought is. Science can't measure the psychological world, can't really see it. We can only each see our own psychological world. This is also very interesting. But there's a sense of, it's me. And so when we try to pull out of imagination, withdraw from imagination, we don't quite know where to go because we thought that's who we are all along. It's a feeling of me. How does this awareness realize itself as this background watching? This is what it's all about. And it's an intuitive, silent, non-mental process. Knowing yourself as the awareness that is seeing the stream of imagination flow by. And it doesn't mean it will stop flowing. It simply means now we'll be on the riverbank seeing it flow. And then we have an opportunity where maybe we can turn and walk away from the stream and go see what else is going on in reality and instead of just always swimming in this stream. The thoughts will still come. The wheel of imagination will still, by virtue of us as a human being, it will want to keep turning. But as we become more consciously aware, it will cease to grab us. And only when it ceases to grab us will it start to actually disappear. It's appearing because we're identified with it. This goes back to something in us wants to indulge in this. This imagination, you could say, is almost a substitute for awareness, for presence. If we could just be aware of where we are and what we're doing and seeing what we're doing, we don't need thought to be doing what we're doing, to be conscious, to be present. But we have become so reliant on our thoughts and this vague imagination, it feels so solid in us. We become so reliant on it. We kind of lean on it like we're leaning on a post psychologically. We don't have the strength in our being to not need that and just to be conscious, be present to our life.